Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the country's biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And we've got 3 for you today. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yes, okay. I'm Matt Johnson, TV presenter, and it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm an asthmatic. Therapy.
I'm Roger Black, a former Olympic athlete and medalist, and I have chronic heart disease.
Like a dating service.
And I'm Amelia Lily. I'm a singer and actress, and I am a type 1 diabetic.
And you're also delicious. Let's not leave that off the list, Amelia. I saw you just 2 weeks ago. Well, you were a princess, but then you ended up all green and in love with an ogre. This could be sort of our future relationship.
Yes, yep, that is what I do for a living currently.
You were terrific. Congratulations on that. I've seen it many times over the years, and I thought it was compelling. It was a great show as well. They put a lot into it, haven't they?
Yeah, it's a very, very high standard musical, and probably the biggest I've ever done, actually. But yeah, I feel very lucky to be a part of it.
We're talking flu season today, and the reason all 3 of you are on, which is a bit odd because you're all so different, but you're all linked in the same way, that the conditions you have could be affected by the flu, and it could be pretty serious, couldn't it, Matt?
Yes, absolutely. And this is what we're here to try and raise awareness for today is the fact that last year 3.5 million people in the UK under 65 who have an underlying health condition, very much like the 3 of us here, didn't take up the opportunity to have a free flu vaccination, and we're here to tell people that it's there, it's a service for you. We are high risk if you are asthmatic or suffer from diabetes or a heart condition. You're high risk, and this service is for you, and it's out there. And please don't miss the opportunity to be kind to yourself and to look after yourself.
I think of the 3 of you, Roger, you're the most likely to die during this interview. How is your heart condition right now?
Now it's worse.
Oh, don't say that.
No, is that because I got heart disease, or I'm 52? Which one is it? No, you are right. Actually, no, you're right because I'm the difference between myself and my other 2 esteemed colleagues is that they have to deal with the diabetes and the asthma. It's with them all the time. So Amelia's having to inject herself, and Matt's having to use inhalers and stuff. It's obvious that they haven't. When you have heart disease, no one can see it. And in my case, I have an incompetent aortic valve, so it doesn't work very well. But it hasn't, so far so good. It hasn't really affected me in a couple of incidents, but nothing major. But it would affect me if I got flu. And that's the point. And yes, you're right. If I got ill and got an infection on my heart valve, then yeah, you're right. I am probably the most likely to drop down, but it's not going to happen.
Isn't it interesting and ironic that you would think of the 3 of you, you were the least likely to have a heart condition? I mean, you were certainly the most athletic. You're certainly the fittest.
Yeah, it's a strange one. It's something I didn't publicise when I was an athlete. It was something my dad worried about every day. It was something that was monitored a lot, actually, behind the scenes. But it obviously didn't affect me. It clearly didn't. I couldn't have done what I did as an athlete if it was something that. Yeah, and there's an argument. My heart actually may have compensated for its inefficiency. But as I get older, it becomes much more relevant to me. So therefore, something like this campaign to raise awareness to people like myself that have heart disease that maybe feel absolutely fine, but they know they have something wrong with their heart. It's very important that they go and get the flu jab, because you don't want to put your heart under unnecessary pressure, and flu will do that.
Of the 3 of you, I've got to say, Matt Johnson, you're my least favourite. Do you want to know why?
Carry on.
I'm the most jealous of you. I think if I looked like you, I'd be so much more successful. I'm a deeply unattractive man, as Amelia will tell you. You seem to have everything. I mean, you've got this sort of dashingly handsome look about you. The ladies find you a nice bit of trouser. You're very good on the TV, and you're incredibly competent. I think where I first saw you was on This Morning. You did a great job at that, and since then you're sort of flying, aren't you, really?
Oh, thank you very much. You're very, very kind, by the way.
What a compliment.
But thank you. Yeah, since leaving This Morning, I've really dedicated my life towards trying to help people understand their own mental health, and to try and get people to discuss and to normalise mental health and what it means to people, and that's gone well. I think we're getting a lot better, especially on radio and on media, with any sort of broadcasting outlets. We are discussing the topic a lot more. So it's very interesting. I mean, myself and Roger were talking earlier about how you value success and what what success actually is. And, to me at one point, success was being on This Morning and doing all that type of stuff. And at the moment, I value success with raising awareness and trying to help people. And that's something that I want to achieve. And yeah, thank you very much. It's been an interesting few years, but nevertheless, it's been full of purpose.
I just did an interview earlier and I was talking to a rugby guy actually who, again, like you two, is incredibly fit, sort of sportsman and all that stuff. I'm the opposite. I was sort of the chubby fat kid at school who was bullied, but I've never had that thing where I can't get out of bed. And I think it's hard for people to understand who don't suffer from mental illness, that they can look at somebody like you who appears to have everything. And then when you tell us that you have daily struggles, it's somewhat shocking. And it seems like recently it's the first time in my lifetime, certainly, that people are willing to openly admit they have problems, they're struggling, and they're finding a way to function every day and survive.
Exactly. Mental illness is non-prejudice. It gets to you regardless of how rich, famous, or healthy, or whatever. It can get you regardless. And what the main thing is, like what we're doing, talking about flu vaccines here, is awareness and talking about it, normalising a discussion, making it possible and attainable to talk about these things with your family members, with your friends. And communication is so important, and that goes for all matters of health and mental health. And we are in a better situation now. I think publicly it's a lot better. In inner cities, I think a lot of people are talking about these issues a lot more. But where I come from and in working class areas, it isn't discussed a lot more. It's a lot to do with purpose and a lot to do with self-esteem. And fingers crossed we can get it to a good phase where people can feel honest and open, and they can feel as if they can be vulnerable. I think vulnerability is one of the most attractive things in a human being, and we shouldn't be afraid to be vulnerable.
You're right. It gets to people who probably are not in a sort of media-lovey world, who can't talk about it, and makes it somewhat more digestible, because that's all you're trying to do really, is go, look, you're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are not alone. And then regardless of where you come from, like I say, wealth, it doesn't matter. People get affected by mental health issues all the time. It's the biggest killer for young men in the UK, and it's getting worse and worse. And it could be prevented by awareness and conversation. And that's so super important. And it comes down to everything. Like we're talking today about physical health, about the flu, and getting the right vaccines. And we're also, that comes down to mental health. It comes down to self-care, and it comes down to looking after yourself and knowing that there's people out there that want to help you.
Let's talk to you, Amelia. I mean, we've spoken many times over the years with your career. I think you're so surprising as an artist, because you could have gone sort of the tabloid way, you could have gone the reality TV way, and actually you went the hardest way, which is doing 8 shows a week in a musical.
Oh, yeah. It's been amazing, though, because obviously, I've done X Factor and I did Celebrity Big Brother last year, but what I have done is I have stuck to my roots, and I have continued performing, and I haven't just gone on reality show after reality show. Like, I have worked in between and do what I love to do, and that's perform and sing and act on stage. And yeah, I'm doing currently 8 shows, sometimes 9 shows a week on a tour, UK and Ireland tour, and it's tough. I'm getting greenified every day, let's say, and I get to wear a fat suit, which is also pretty cool.
Sounds like a hen night.
But yeah, it is. I feel like I've got the best job in the world.
What's great about Shrek as well, currently on tour, is the fact that it's a bit naughty for the dads. There's lots of sort of in-gags. The guy who spends his whole night on the knees, how's he doing? He must be in agony.
Sam Holmes, yeah, he is fantastic. Do you know what, though? What you see on stage with him, that is him off stage as well. He is one of the funniest men I've ever met in my life.
You can tell that comic timing is beautiful.
He is hilarious.
Yeah, really nice. And again, your voice, it's so pure and brilliant. And to be a princess, you've got to sort of have that angelic voice. I wonder how tough it is to sing these songs 8 times a week. Are you living like a nun?
Pretty much, yeah. I have no social life. But no, you have to look after yourself. And look, this is the toughest job I've ever done. I'm 23 and I'm playing a leading role. I'm actually the youngest person to ever play Princess Fiona. And I now know why, because, you have to look after yourself. You can't go out after a show and have a drink with your friends. You have to go home to bed, and you can't talk during the day. I'm constantly on voice rest. It is tough. It's a big scene. sing. It's a big acting part. It's all singing, all dancing, all acting. But I absolutely love it. And yeah, I'll be gutted when it ends.
I've always wanted to be a giraffe in The Lion King. What about you, Matt?
Oh God! Do you know what? If they ever do the Greatest Showman musical, I could happily be the Greatest Showman. Hugh Jackman, P.T. Barnum.
You get it just on looks, mate.
That would be amazing. From now on, I could do it.
I could be the bearded lady. We could do it together.
You're in. If we can cast this right now, Roger, what would you be?
In the old days, I'd like to be Zac Efron, but those days are over. So.
I bet you could still scissor kick, can't you?
I was doing the Google of Roger Black, and it's very interesting, the images that come up. I go to the gym every day, right, and I look worse now than I did when I started. How do you get those ball things on the top of your arms?
All those pictures of me would have been when I was running. So
right.
I'm not. They've gone. Those balls have gone. Sorry, try to rephrase that. No. Look, you know what? When you're training every day and you're training to you're not training to look good. You're training to run fast and win medals. It's just part of it. It just comes with it. But when you finish, and it's much harder to keep it going.
Talk to me about the camaraderie of being an Olympic athlete. It must be incredible to be part of that community at that level, being that hot and successful, and then being on the TV, winning awards and having glory of the nation. It's not bad, is it?
It's all right. But I mean, it was, I was very fortunate. I mean, I was very fortunate that I had a career that ended up well. I mean, a lot of people have the talent and something happens along the way and it doesn't happen. But look, I was even more fortunate in the way that, because I ran the 400 metres, I ran individually, and my greatest day was winning the individual medals at the Olympics. But I also got to be part of a relay team, and that was when it was really fun, because you were part of a team, you were with other characters, but not just characters, people like Chris Akabusi, the biggest character British athletics ever had. John Regis, Reverend Daley Thompson, all these. But I was part of a really exciting time in athletics. It was a very golden age. And yeah, look, but the truth is, when you're doing it. You're so focused on it and the pressure and all that stuff. You don't really necessarily appreciate it at the time as much as you do as the years go by.
Amelia, just talk to me about the diabetes and doing a show for 2.5 hours. I guess you've got to be careful what you do and don't eat, have you?
Yeah, definitely. It is tough, but I'm in such a routine now. And I always make sure that I check my glucose before the show, in the interval, and obviously after. And I'm the company I work for are amazing, and they have trundles both sides of the stage, every venue, with Lucozade and sweets and stuff for me. So it's very. I feel very lucky that I'm looked after as well. But I also know my symptoms really well, and I think that's so important.
I was thinking about this with Amelia, because of the three of us, she's the one who's out there working, much harder than we are. Yeah. So she is somebody who, the flu jab's really important for someone like her, because if she was to be hit down with the flu now, it doesn't just affect her; it affects her trade. Mm-hmm. I could probably get through mine, because if I'm speaking at conferences or whatever, and you might be able to. But for someone like Amelia, who really is having to look after herself, she's a great example of somebody, whether she has diabetes or not, who should be getting that flu jab. Well,
Sonofy Pasteur, they're a wonderful company that are trying to help us encourage people to do something for themselves, and that today is to encourage people at home. If you feel as if you are in the high risk category like we are, please go to your go to your doctor, go to your local pharmacy, and find out whether you are this applies to you. And I would strongly recommend doing and having a flu jab, because it takes 4 to 5 minutes. It's painless, and as well, we're encouraging you to be healthy in all aspects of your life. Why not do this for yourself? And to the 3.5 million people that are all listening right now, please go and help yourself and be kind to yourself.
Don't put my figures down. It's at least...
Sorry, I just thought it might be dipping because we've been rambling.
I made a career of that. What's next for you, Matt? I mean, you've had such a great career so far. I've got a feeling you're going to end up like an Eamon one of these days, where you end up being sort of a mainstream presenter doing everything. Is that your ambition? The goalposts change constantly about how I envision success and my kind of goals in life. To be a friend of Eamon Holmes is like a huge accomplishment in itself. But like, if I can have a long-lasting career like him in the world of broadcasting, as we know, broadcasting and TV and everything's changing drastically with Netflix, the non-appointment of you TV, like the X Factor, etc. programs. They're all sliding
in viewing figures. So who's watching telly and why are they watching and when are they watching is always constantly changing, which also makes it very exciting. I'm producing a film at the moment and 2 documentaries. So I'm trying to keep working. I'm trying to stay relevant, but I'm also trying to do the right thing with regards to mental health. So look, if I can still be around when I'm 60, later on, and still doing what I'm doing now, and I love what I'm doing now, I'd be extremely, extremely happy. That would be wonderful.
I think you're a class act. I don't like you. You're far too handsome. If you could be less handsome, it would help my career. And we wish you all the best, Matt Johnson. And we look at Amelia Lily. You're still in Shrek. When do you finish in that?
I finished November the 4th in Dublin.
Congratulations. A really stunning tribute to your talent. That it lets you shine, because there's so many parts of that show where you get to just do the business and take over. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it is. It's so much fun. I love it.
And as for you, Roger, going to keep doing this sort of motivational stuff, because that's what we've got sort of known for now, isn't it? Is you going out helping people.
Yeah, I've always done that, and I'll always do that. But things evolve. My day-to-day stuff. I run a business with Steve Backley, who was a very successful Olympic javelin thrower. So we're involved in performance and in other areas, property, and just encouraging people if they want to change their lives, giving them options.
I suppose all three of you, what you prove is no matter whether you've got a heart condition, whether it's diabetes, asthma or anything else, anything is possible. You're all masters in your own field and doing incredibly well. Thank you so much for your time. Roger Black, thanks to Amelia Lily and Matt Johnson too. Have a great afternoon, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.